Greetings and salutations once again. So, we progress today during this session a little bit further. I don't know how much further, but we shall see. Righty ho then. Some tea for me. Right. I am assuming that many of you are still somewhat confused as to exactly what's going on here, but never fear, it shall come together in its own time, as all of these pieces tend to do. Once again, this is a slightly different piece to the norm. It's all dark. However, it's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be full of contrast. Damn mosquitoes, go away. It's meant to be full of contrast and mood and so on. Not dark energy and all that rubbish. Just that its setting is really, do I use gloomy as the expression? No. It is essentially dark because of the number one, the enveloping canopy, which is just open enough to allow the light to descend onto the waterfall itself, thus illuminating it and allowing for these extreme highlights and extreme darks. In other words, there's a lot of almost overexposure going on here, which sends the darks right deeper and accentuates the highlights. Because we've also changed the angle of this piece from the previous piece was set. Our viewpoint was from that way looking up. And this time we've changed further around, so we're looking sideways on to the waterfall. Semantics, yes, but there you have it. So I am playing with light differently this time with this piece, so it's very different from my seascapes and all of the other stuff that I have been busy with prior to this. So yeah, some will enjoy this piece and others won't, and that, my dears, is the luck of the draw and not relevant. Not even slightly relevant to why I'm doing this piece and why I'm actually really enjoying it. It's because of its difference. It's because of its nature. It's energy that is unfolding. Somebody on Instagram, interestingly enough, commented on a, and they're not watching the actual YouTube session unfold. They're just seeing a progress piece. And in fact, it was just the progress of the first, yesterday's progress. Sorry, the day, Monday's progress. The first bringing together of this piece, the coming together of it. And she said she feels the mood of it already. Wonderfully moody, I think she said. I forget what her words were. So that already just tells me it's working. It's working for somebody. But most importantly, it's working for me. And it will be revealed. Some of you might not like it first and then maybe take to it. Maybe you won't like it first and you won't like it end either. So it's just the way things go. The only reason for these sessions is for my development as an artist, and they have helped me immensely. I can't even begin to tell you how powerful these sessions are and have been for me over the past 18 months since the onset of lockdown, etc. So I'm using a little piece of black pastel that I happened to find. I didn't think I had any left, because it's not quite as hard in terms of its composition as the compressed charcoal, and also not as dark, but because it's softer, it covers area quicker, so I can work on doing a couple of little highlights and at least shadow dark areas, and just bringing those together quite rapidly, which also helps me in terms of seeing where I'm going with this piece, which is nice. Yeah, it's a lot darker than any of the other pieces. It's going to be very, very contrasty. So not a lot of green, wonderful, pretty butterflies flying. No, it's a very dark, moody, and yet there's a lot of white in it as well. So that contrasts it. There's a dance of water and light play and what have you, which is going to come into more and more, and it will show up more as I'm working back with my compressed charcoal now, so it will show up much more as the impact of our contrast comes more and more and more into play as I work on it. Yeah, so there we have it. And yes, there are these striations of rock, because the rock itself is heavily striated. It's almost like it's packed in layers, in almost in slabs, essentially one on top of the other. It's actually fascinating, and this is dolerite, so it's quite it's a fairly soft rock as opposed to granite, for that matter. Or by comparison, rather, I should say. But it's nowhere near as soft as sandstone, so it doesn't erode quite as quickly over the millennia, but it does have this wonderful sense of almost like these big blocks of stone have been placed here on purpose, by design. Okay, people, for those of you who are panicking about me not using any color, here we go with some green, huh? Putting a little bit green for that moss. And it's very much. Are these two the same? I don't know. Yes, they are the same. So there's very much a. Let's put that in. Let's put some of that in. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself as I also talk to you. So don't mind me. Don't mind us. Yes, there's the color that's here is going to be quite sparse and fleeting. However, I'm going to just punch it out here and there where I do use it a little bit, but it is subtle. It's just a hint of color here and there. And I'm going to introduce, of course, a little bit of the browns or the ochres as well, but very subdued. Really don't want it to play a significant role, although it is present and it is obvious. So that you can see that it just tips the scales between a black and white illustration or artwork and color. So, saying it does make a difference. And top over there will be some very dark, deep greens with a touch here and there of yellow, bright yellow. Where the sun is just catching the leaves as it filters through into the upper regions of the canopy or the dense forest. And that's it. That's really it. The rest is all just this wonderful dancing water, cascading dancing water. You can hear the painted reed frogs in the background, almost as if we're setting the scene over here, because there would be a lot of them in this particular spot. I don't know if you can hear them in the background of this video. I must check later when I watch some of it. Sounds of the night, but this is the daytime, but it's quite dark. Cosseting might be a word to use, because I really want to capture the sensation that one feels when you walk through a wonderful dark forest where you're going along a pathway and the vegetation kind of almost becomes a tunnel. It's all around you, and then you see these great big trees looming up on either side every now and again, and sometimes you can spot, as the canopy opens up a little bit, there's the patch of blue sky here and there, or a little bubbling brook next to you as you walk along the pathway, and then all of a sudden you come across this little gorge that opens up. Suddenly it appears, and it's right there, and then suddenly there's this wonderful dancing, tinkling waterfall. as the stream makes its way down the gorge. Yeah, it's that kind of energy that I'm looking to, that sensation, the feelings that you get, the coolness of, you can almost imagine the mulchy fallen leaves beneath your feet. And I always enjoy doing a barefoot hike. I always like hiking barefoot. Just it is, to me, it is earthing. Yeah. It is a very powerful experience for me. I always thoroughly enjoy it, and I can get that done. Yeah, so it's all those sort of sensations of dampness, of cool air coming through, breeze coming through, almost to the point of being cold, chilly. Not foreboding though. It's a there's a sensation of all things ethereal. It always is in a water. And waterfalls are magical things, really, and I don't know anyone who actually doesn't really see them that way. I don't. We all have this sense of awe whenever we come across a waterfall. Everyone that I've ever known. I remember doing a hike with a group of people. Around Kranskloof Falls, well, one of the waterfalls at Kranskloof Falls. I think it is Kranskloof Falls, and it's not a very long hike, but you sort of hike around the top of the falls. You come out at the top, you dabble your feet in the water and look out over the vista and down over the top of the gorge and what have you, and then you work your way around the other side of the down right to the very base of the falls, and that's quite a high falls. It's probably 50 meters or so by comparison to this, which is only about 10 meters. But so you work your way right down. It's maybe even more than 50 meters. I don't know. You work your way right down to the bottom, and then so you all the time you're in the vegetation, in the forest, winding path coming down, back and forth, and eventually it suddenly emerges into this, because the vegetation kind of muffles the sound, so you don't actually get that full sound of the waterfall cascading down, and you suddenly emerge at the very base of the waterfall, and you just look up into this vastness of this wonderful water that's just charging down onto you, with all the sound and the roar of the water and the spray, the mist, the everything. And so I was kind of one of the first couple of people to reach the bottom. And I knew there was a number of people on that particular hike that had never seen this falls before. It's not anything incredibly significant, but as they all came out of the trees of the forest, and they all just gaped and gawked up at this. Yeah, so it is waterfalls are magical things, and they really are captivating. Much like the sea, much like a fire. You can sit and stare at one of these, you feel a sense of spirituality, heightened spirituality in a place like this. Always, I do anyway. I don't know about you. I can't even ask you, but I can ask you. You can reply on my on my channel. Yeah, give me your experiences of waterfalls, and if this is starting to make you feel, bring out some of those sensations. Now, as I'm speaking to you and I'm working with this, I'm working with my compressed charcoal over the where I've used the black pastel, and the compressed charcoal is darker, so it's subtle changes in tone and line and what have you. It's not just all this mess of black. There's a few different types of black here. So whereas with the last seascape I was using, I don't know, I forget what I was saying, seven different kinds of blues and 5 different kinds of greens in the water. Here I've got, it's mostly blacks and whites with a touch of green and yellow and a bit of blue here and there. But by and large, it's a completely different setting, and completely different story, in fact. This is more Alice in Wonderlandy. If I were to peg it. So we all have our own interpretations of what we see, how we see things, what we perceive, what it means to us. And this is what it means to me. So, yeah, as I was saying, this dolerite rock, it seems to be in these big slabs, almost as if some giant has laid this place, being the sort of the brickie who laid the slabs in place that to form this wonderful place. And so it does look like there's two big steps, and then this wonderful sort of bulkhead over above here of rock. And there's lots of little rivulets of water coming down here and there, which I'll tackle in greater detail as we go. So there's a lot of detail happening here and there. And a lot of this detail will also come together when we start using our white acrylic as well. I want to use my white Conte now. Somebody even, actually another comment I had, one of you guys commented, was it on here? Man, was it on YouTube or was it on Facebook somewhere? I think it was on Facebook, one of the groups, and had seen the progress of the last session, and kind of mentioned that it was reminiscent of the video for the Aha song, Take On Me, I think it was that video. Remember the one was just all animated but sort of hazy, but black and white, sketchy, wonderful video. I always loved that video, that music video. So sort of evocative, and it's so this guy was reminded, this piece as it was developing has reminded him of that, which is amazing. So everyone has their own sort of little stories and interpretations, and it's wonderful. It's actually really special for me to hear these kinds of things, because I love to hear other people's stories. What perhaps what an art, a piece of mine, a work of mine evokes. If it does at all. Of course, it's not an expectation, but I really enjoy hearing if you do have any, if it does conjure up any particular emotions or feelings or energies or memories, and whatever it might be. Wonderful to hear. So please make comment wherever you feel. Don't be shy. Yeah, so this is a great deal of, there's a great deal of line work that's required here, and predominantly white line work. So, and it's quite subtle line work too. But can you imagine? You can just imagine this this water as it splashes and then streams down, and then there's different angles, and it's bouncing off cracks and so on and so forth. So it creates this whole mesh of white streaks of light, water reflecting light. Rushing here and there, pooling here and there. It is starting to take shape actually now. It's amazing. It reads sometimes it just, every artwork is different. Every single one is different, and that's what I find really amazing. And that at a point it suddenly just comes together, starts to take shape. Yes, I'm going to be having to tackle that corner up there. I'll have to do my stretches first, but I shall leave it for now. I want to work. I don't think I'll work on it today. I shall, however, give it a good go tomorrow or during my next session. I always say tomorrow, today, whatever, yesterday, but obviously I understand that you're watching it whenever you're watching it. You may be watching two sessions. You may be not watching the whole session. Anyway, so everybody has their preferences. I know that, look, it's highly unlikely that a lot of people would actually watch the entire hour-long session, start to finish. There's just, we don't have time. Other things to watch, if we are doing that, and other things to do. Some of you are, which is fantastic. But I accept that many don't. And I accept it because it's this is for me, and sharing this experience in full is important to me, and that's because that's what I want to do. That's my that's my gift to whoever needs to receive it, along with all my mental meanderings and prattle and what have you. Somebody out there might just need I don't know who it might be, or when it might be, or where it might be, or whatever it is that I'm saying that might be relevant, whatever it is that I'm doing that might be relevant. But if there's one person that actually that my work maybe, or these sessions perhaps has an impact on, then I am happy. Happy as Larry, whoever Larry may be. And wherever that expression came from, I have no idea. Anyway. English is a strange language, isn't it? Happy as Larry. Who the hell is Larry? Or Alice, for that matter. But anyway, we won't get into that. Right, back to some charcoal again, I think. Over here. I reckon some of this. Let's get that vegan poo brown. That's the one I want. You're the one that I want. So a little bit of a pool over here, pool of water, pooling water. No, I'll go for that one rather. Better for this. Sort of a muddy pool where some water has collected. SpongeBob Junior. So we go with you, mate. Yes, so lots and lots of line work in this piece. Defining line work, actually. It really is. The line work is what is required to, it brings form to this piece. So, lots and lots and lots of glistening surfaces, all catching the light, and all where there is no light, or where they're not reflecting the light, then it's dark, dark, dark. A little bit of brown in here. A little bit of vegan poo brown as well. So there is colour in this piece, but it's very subtle. Just don't want it to be overbearing, if you know what I mean. I'm going to be having fun with my toothbrush, that I can tell you. There's a whole lot of stuff going on at the top there. And all the way down, in fact, as the water courses through and splashes and whatnot. Yeah. I think it's time to start working up top there. Did I not get Right, excuse me for blocking everything out now. So I'm going to have to first of all create this darkness up here. So an overall sort of darkness, and I can work over that with some of the lighter and some of the really dark branches and things that go on here. Just want to set the so don't anybody be going into shock because I'm putting too much charcoal in this piece. In fact, I am going to bring this whole thing down and to more work. See, unfortunately, this is the lowest it will go. So when I have these slightly taller pieces, either I need a higher, maybe I need a higher stool. Yeah. But for now, for the nonce, I can work like this, which is absolutely fine. So there's going to be a lot of spray and what have you going on up here as well, but I do need to darken this whole area first, because this whole area up here is just forest. And it comes right up to the very edge of the waterfall. In fact, a little bit further down here, there's a tree that's, its roots are kind of hugging some rocks together. Wonderful. It's getting there. Getting there. Of course, we're going to be introducing some green and yellow, so don't worry, it's going to not be quite as dingy as that. So far, so very good. I'm more than happy with where we're going with this today. How are we doing for time? A little over 10 minutes left. Yeah. See, now I'm using my eraser not to erase but to create wonderful blending shapes, quite indistinct. Here's these rocks looming out from the shadows, and just in general creating wonderful texture. Excuse me, that's what I use my eraser for, not for rubbing out. So there's going to be some nice, see now I've got these different almost layered charcoal, they all smudged and blurred and blended over one, and then I will carry on using my eraser. I just was getting it going a little bit there to see how that would work texturally. And then the eraser just brings out some nice highlights and shapes and what have you there. So I'm going to continue with that, during the next session. But just to get that sort of starting there, and then I'll add a little bit of color as well, greens and yellows. Yeah. So I think let's put a little bit of blue in the top there. Let me move this back up again now that I'm happy with. Yeah, it was a bit of a stretch to try and reach up there. Probably would have been fairly good exercise, and I just don't feel like it. Don't have to, don't wanna. Right. Right, let's go with some more. Spend the last 6 or 7 minutes with will I get to finish this piece tomorrow? I don't think so, but you never know. There is actually a lot of line work still to continue with. just using my white contact crayon at this point, because it's a harder consistency composite, and but actually it gets a nice smooth, gentle line going, rather than a very high, white line like the pastel would offer, and also a finer line as well, slightly, depending on how hard I press. If I'm just using a feather touch as I am here, then the line is quite fine. So I'm just creating this wonderful texture of the water patterns as it splatters and sprays in every direction. And then the more dotted droplets will come with the acrylic when I introduce that, but that will be the final stretch. The very final stretch. You see? Where's that little piece of and I had obviously dropped this. When you drop pastels, they're chalky, so they crumble easily, and if you drop them, they crack and break up inside their little protective sheath wrapping, and then when you take the wrapping off, they'll just fall out. So don't drop your pastels. I'm actually just turning as I'm working. I'm not doing it straight up and down lines across. I'm actually turning this conte in my fingers so that it creates a slightly wobbly line, and also because it's got a square cross section, it's a jolting line as well, so it creates quite a nice effect of line. This can go back up top again. How are we doing for time? 2 minutes left. Sure, time goes rapidly. You see see what I mean by, you can never tell when you're going to actually finish these pieces. Not exact, not precisely, and not 2 days in advance. There's always things that crop up, but I can see already that there's a significant amount of work still to achieve, especially with the likes of this kind of line work as well. So far, it's coming on well, I have to say. Hmm. Right, folks, I think I am done for this session. We've made some decent progress and shall progress further during the next session. So I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for joining in, and welcome to any new subscribers that I might have picked up along the way. Really appreciate it. Yes, so I hope you've enjoyed. And yes, thank you for comments and all that kind of thing. I absolutely welcome them, as I said before. So don't hold back, whatever it might be. Comments, positive, negative, whatever it might be. So yeah. Anyway, have a fantastic day further. Oodles and oodles and oodles of toodles. See you soon, guys. Have a good one. Be safe, be kind, be loving, and above all, take care. See you soon. Bye. And always doodle.